In the first 4 days of war, Israel defeats Egypt and Jordan. Moshe Dayan did not want the army to reach the Suez Canal, but now Israelis are cooling in its waters. Dayan had been against the occupation of the old city of Jerusalem. Who needs this Vatican, he said. But now Israel controls all of Jerusalem. Dayan was reluctant to respond to Syrian shelling in the north because of the possibility of involving Syria's powerful ally, the Soviet Union. But on the 5th day of war, Dayan changes his mind and orders an attack on Syria.
Dayan once told me that Israel is like a small mouse. There's a big ocean in which all the superpowers swim. They're the big fish, whales, dolphins. And Israel is like a small mouse. It runs quickly out of its hole to grab something and runs quickly back to the hole.
Israel attacks all along the Syrian border. Dayan's goal is to control the strategic Golan Heights and silence Syrian guns once and for all. His action brings the world to the brink of global war. That evening, the hotline in the White House comes to life. Soviet Premier Alexei Kosygin sends a stern warning.
Kosygin, in a sense, said to the president, if you want war, you're going to get war. He didn't actually use those words. He said, in effect, if you don't stop this action, that is to say, if you don't stop Israel attacking Syria, we will have to respond and we will consider, I think his words were, unilateral military action.
The situation was very serious on a global scale. No one knew what turn events might take. You know, Middle East conflict has always been like a powder keg. There might have been an explosion with grave consequences for the whole world.
The Soviets move to back up their threat. They order Air Force General Vasily Reshetnikov to repaint his planes with Egyptian Air Force markings and prepare for action.
I was told to get my air squadrons ready, to equip the airplanes with bombs, and to be ready to strike military and communications targets in Israel.
Less than 10 miles from the Israeli shores, the Soviet fleet is assembling a force to storm the Israeli port of Haifa. Captain Yuri Kripunkov is asked to find volunteers to go ashore for battle.
I lined up my boys on the deck and said, "Lads, it seems like we're going to take part in a very serious action. Those who are not ready to risk their lives should step ahead." Only one stepped ahead.
As the news of Soviet military preparations streams into the Situation Room in Washington, the U.S. makes military preparations of its own. It is the most dangerous moment of the Cold War since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
We feared we would have to introduce U.S. military force to support Israel defending itself against a combination of Syria and the Soviet Union. The Sixth Fleet was then steaming on a training exercise in the Mediterranean toward Gibraltar. We turned it around and sent it back toward Israel, not to support an Israel attack on Syria, but to be prepared to defend Israel against a potential Soviet attack. Very, very dangerous.
In the United Nations, Syria presses for an immediate ceasefire, but Israel resists. This buys Dayan enough time to finish what he's started. In the next few hours, the Syrian army is decimated. The Israelis push to within 40 miles of Syria's capital, Damascus, when Dayan calls a halt and Israel agrees to a ceasefire.
I remember taking in my car a soldier who was walking back home from the front. He was crying. I asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "I would have preferred to have both my legs amputated than to return home in such defeat."